Hi, it's Gary McKendrick here from Business Berserkers, and my guest today is a man who I enjoy because he looks like Olly Murs, firstly. He's an Essex boy. It's Will Polston!
Oh, I'm so pleased to be here on. I'm not even going to do my Geordie Business Berserkers. That's my Geordie accent as good as it gets.
That was brilliant. Dressed accordingly as well. It's a lovely summer's day. You had the memo to wear your shorts and t-shirts and your little plimsolls. That's wonderful. Thank you very much for coming.
Plimsolls. These people are going to be thinking, what on earth has he got on his feet? Trainers, we call them in the south.
Trainers, yes. It's very hot today. Anyhow, Will, you are a mindset strategist.
I am indeed.
That sounds quite complex and surreal almost. What is a mindset strategist, firstly? Tell the people what you do. What is your superpower?
My superpower, well, I've never quite labelled it myself as that, but it's actually quite simple. I have the privilege, and it truly is a privilege, of taking people from where they are to where they want to be. It really is as simple as that. And the way that I do that is by getting people to think differently. Because if they think differently, they act differently. If they act differently, they get different results. I
like that, keeping it simple as well. Have you always had this superpower?
So like I say, I certainly don't refer to it as a superpower.
So stop calling it a superpower.
Yeah, you can call it what you like. But
note to self. Gary, just stop calling it a superpower, okay?
I like that. Very good. So I've always had an ability, I guess, to have an impact on people from a very early age. I've always had the ability to have an impact on people in a variety of different ways. I guess the way that I do it now is quite different. And I absolutely love it. So it's something I do more of in a variety of different mediums, whether it be utilising social media and the internet and doing things like this, or whether it be content, whether it be writing for the likes of Huffington Post, whether it be running events, speaking at events, working with people one-on-one. There's a whole host of different mediums that we have the ability to have an impact.
I like it. And I do enjoy your work, I must say.
Thank you.
Tell me though, you haven't always been like this. Tell me a bit about the old Will.
The old Will, God, it makes me sound like I'm so old now. So yeah, I guess to give you the understanding and to put it into context, I grew up with the belief that money equaled happiness, and went off on a tangent to earn as much money as I could as quickly as I could. I've got two very wealthy uncles. I've got one uncle that's a billionaire, one uncle that's a multi-millionaire. My dad used to hate his job and used to bring a lot of that negative energy back into the house and work ridiculously long hours. I remember him like kissing me good morning and leaving for the day at 5 o'clock in the morning and getting back at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. And yeah, I just had this belief that money equaled happiness. A lot of it was down to the fact my dad said they just got lucky. So it was like they had something. Someone got lucky, they've normally got something that's good. They got lucky, they just got lucky. And yeah, used that as a bit of a pedestal. And one at some point further down the line, my dad wasn't going to business with my uncle. It didn't happen. My dad had left his job. My dad ended up depressed. And I just made the association that money equaled happiness, because there was my Uncle Mark, really, really happy. My Uncle Steve, really, really happy. My dad, when he worked in the city, all right, he was stressed, frustrated, and he wasn't necessarily the nicest of energies to be around. And then there was my dad when he was depressed, and it was obvious to me that, well, loads of money, happy, loads of money, happy. Enough money, like, don't get me wrong, it was no Cinderella lifestyle for me growing up. We went on holidays every year. I always had shoes on my feet, I always had new clothes, but it was always an ongoing concern that I was very conscious of at the ages of 8, 9, 10, 11, and then yeah, I made that decision when I was about 10 years old, and then went off on this tangent. I become the kid at school, you know, the hustler, the one like buying and selling and doing whatever they could, and then ended up in investment sales at the age of 18, become very good very quickly, and then I had a life-changing moment.
But you did earn lots of money.
I did, yeah, and here's the ironic thing about it. When I look back now, I did earn lots of money. I mean, I was saying on the way here, funnily enough, is that I had this ability to earn money very easily, but what I wasn't conscious of at the time was I was actually compromising a lot of my own values because I wasn't conscious of my values in order to earn that money. And when I look back in hindsight, I actually regretted for a long time what I did. There was a big underlying undercurrent of guilt, and as a result of that guilt and not being conscious of that guilt, there was a massive amount of self-sabotage. So a lot of the money I earned, I just spent. I lost a very big sum of money just as I was buying my first house. I mean, I was buying my first house, this big house, a 3-bed, detached house, double garage, gated drive. I was 22 years old buying this sort of big house, and just before I literally, pretty much the week as I was about to exchange, I lost a 6-figure sum.
Wow.
Which for anyone's a lot of money. For a 22-year-old, it was an awful lot of money. At the time, was my life savings. And
was that an investment that went?
Yeah. I was trading the stock market, spread betting specifically. It happened over a period of time. It was just my own ego, my own arrogance, my own naivety. But I sort of pulled the plug on it in the end at that period of time, and that was another realisation of the past will. I mean, you talk about our past lives and the things that we've done and whatever else that can make us, and I truly do. I'm blessed to have had those lessons, because they truly are lessons. There's nothing you can do about the past except change the way you think about it, and be able to use that as a driving force for good moving forward.
So the old Will was very materialistic. Money is everything, and it sounds like you're in a very excessive lifestyle with your drink, drugs, and everything.
Yeah, not drugs.
And those women.
Yeah, there's been a girl or two.
Good looking lad. He's a good looking lad.
Still single, so please comment below. No, I'm kidding. But no, I mean,
ain't no ring on that finger.
Never into drugs, funnily enough, and the irony of like belief systems. I remember when I was working around people that earned lots of money. I mean, there was one guy that I was working with that earned 70 grand a month, which is a lot of money by most people's standards. And one time he was so off his face on drugs that he bought a brand new convertible car, flipped it the weekend he bought it, ran away from the car, it got impounded, and I just remember thinking, I don't ever want to be like someone like that. And that was enough to make me never sort of get a drug habit or anything like that. Don't get me wrong, I played rugby since I was 4 years old. I'm a big drinker. Ironically, I'm taking a year off alcohol as of last month. But yeah, I've had a few parties, had some good times, done some silly stuff. But they're for a story in a pub one day maybe. But yeah, and I did. I did a lot of stuff. Spent a lot of money. Was very materialistic. I remember specifically when I'd bought my house and I had the car I wanted. I remember actually sitting in the office. I worked for a big division of a stock brokerage, and there was Bloomberg on the screen. I was like, what do I need? I need another goal. I need to have this next goal. What's my next goal going to be? And I remember seeing a microlight on the TV, on the Bloomberg screen, and I thought, how cool would that be to get a microlight? So I went on, as you do, like buy microlights.com or whatever it was, and I saw a microlight. Things don't make me. So a lot of people operate from a place of, well, I'm going to do something to have something to be something. So for example, I'm going to do loads of hard work to have loads of money to be happy. Whereas what really we need to do is we need to be and then do and then have. I'm not saying just be and like manifest and life's going to all come towards you. I don't believe in that philosophy personally. I do believe that work has to happen.
Hard work.
You've got to put in the graft,
Yeah.
but the place that you do it from is really important. It's really important.
So you said there was a trigger, something happened that flipped your life, essentially.
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah. That was an event with a chap sort of similar height to me. You might have heard of him, called Tony Robbins. He's definitely not the same height as me. He's 6 foot, whatever he is. I'm 5'8" in heels. And yeah, it was a life-changing moment. And it was the moment, for those of you that aren't familiar with it, where he talks about Thanksgiving. So Tony has a foundation called Basket Brigade, where they give away meals constantly throughout the year, and every year at Thanksgiving, and then at Christmas here in the UK and in countries all over the world. And it talks about how the trigger for him doing what he does was down to his dad. One Thanksgiving, a complete stranger, came to the door and offered them a Thanksgiving dinner, because there was this like charity that was going on, and his dad couldn't afford a Thanksgiving dinner, and this person said, look, no, I want to give it to you. And then his dad slammed the door in his face and said, we don't accept charity, which was the excuse. I then heard that for me was a big metaphor, because then I then heard they just got lucky as that same excuse, and it was his uncle, like it was someone that represented the uncle, and it was a really powerful moment for me. I remember just crying my eyes out for like 15 minutes. My friend standing next to me was like, what the hell just happened to you? But yeah, I call it my lightning moment, because it was literally like a bolt of lightning hit me. Everything just made sense, and I was like, oh my God, all these years that I've been having this belief.
What actually got you to the Tony Robbins event? Because you
right, okay,
you
yeah, great question.
Into that.
Well, yeah, no, I really was into it. So at the age of 18 years old, I was commission only, and I first read a book called The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. You might have heard of it. It's about the law of attraction, and I read the book, and I was like, this makes perfect sense. Everything that I've ever achieved in life, I've applied. When I connect the dots backwards, I've applied this philosophy. Well, I'm going to start applying it moving forward. And I was like, this stuff's brilliant. Because remember, I had a belief that money equaled happiness, right? So I thought, this stuff's brilliant. The more I do this stuff, this personal development stuff, the more money I earn. This is brilliant. It's like printing money. I'm going to do more of it. And I did more and more and more. And I got more and more and more immersed. And then a guy that I worked with, actually worked for at the time, said, we're going to go and see Tony Robbins. He's in the UK. Do you want to do it? I said, yeah, I'm in. And we went along to the event. And as those of you that have been to UPW?
No,
you haven't been.
No.
Okay. There's a saying that most people will understand. If you've been, you'll understand. Saying life will never be the same again, and life was never the same again.
I have done a similar event called Unlock Your Potential by a guy called Will Polston.
Nice plug, thank you.
Yeah, that was good. Wasn't it? Yeah. You'd think we rehearsed that, we didn't. So you went along to this event, and that was the lightning moment.
Yep.
What happened after that?
Oh wow. Well, I went home, I told my parents what I was going to do, I registered a company, I opened a bank account the next day, and then did nothing. So I took massive action and then stopped.
Yeah. Why did you stop, you think?
If I'm honest, because I thought I had to be successful before I was able to move forward. I thought I had to have achieved something to do what I wanted. I did leave the city. I did set up a sales and marketing business with a business partner. Again, like jumping in, both feet. We went from a standing start. We had 85 staff within 4 months, growing. We had these big ambitions. Government changed legislation. The whole business just collapsed pretty much overnight. And then we tried to do a spin-off of that business. And then I actually went on holiday with a girlfriend at the time. And there's quite a funny story to how this particular moment happened, which I won't go into.
You have to now, you've mentioned it.
So,
clearly.
My girlfriend at the time was a dental nurse. I'll be quick because otherwise we lose it.
She was a what?
She was a dental nurse, and she said, "Go and get your teeth."
I thought you said dense woman.
Dense woman, yeah, she was that too.
A dental nurse.
No, she was a dental nurse, and she said, "Like, go and get your teeth hygienist cleaned, whatever." Went in, had that a few days before I went away. They clipped my gum. And it got infected, and they said the only thing we can do is give you these antibiotics, but you can't drink alcohol on them. I just paid for my first holiday in 2 years, all inclusive, premium spirits, you name it, and and I can drink. And we went to this place. We were on holiday in Cancun. We went to a place called Coco Bongos, which is like this mad party nightclub type thing. She got battered, absolutely battered. Carried her back into the room over my shoulder, like she was passed out at the end of the night. And woke up in the morning, I was like, right, I'm going to go out. And she's like, no, I'm staying in, I need to be sick, all this. I'm going out on my own. I went out on my own, I started reading a book called The Hero by Rhonda Byrne as well. And it talked about a guy called Mastin Kipp. And Mastin Kipp's got a company called The Daily Love. And it talks about how he sort of was on his mission and he wanted to do what he was doing. And then one day he got retweeted by Kim Kardashian. And he went from 1,000 followers to 10,000 followers in like 2 minutes, like whatever it was. And I just burst out crying again. Thankfully I had my sunglasses on, otherwise people thought I'm a right crazy guy sitting at the pool. It's like beautiful weather, everyone's smiling with their pina coladas, there's me crying my eyes out. And it just hit me just then and there. I was like, why am I procrastinating? All I need to do is something. Like something as simple as posting a motor, because that was what it was. It was one of his quotes that got retweeted on social media by Kim, and I just thought that's what I need to do. I'm going to go home, I'm going to post a quote on social media, and I did exactly that. I posted a quote in the morning.
Do you remember what it was, the first one?
I believe it was Successful People Do What Failures Won't, Tony Robbins. And I've actually got that as my mouse mat now, and But I do believe it was that, and I did that every day for a week. After 2 weeks, I decided, well, some people don't go on social media in the morning. I need to do it in the evening as well. We'll have 2 separate quotes. And I did that for 2 weeks, and after 3 weeks, I set up a website. After 3 months, I had a 10,000 strong social media following. In the 4th month, I ran 5 events, 4 free, 1 paid. That's an interesting story because I thought, well, what I'm going to do, I want to coach one-to-many. I don't just want to do one-on-one because I'm business-minded. I want to financially sort of look after myself, and I want to do some things, and I want to impact more people. So I thought, right, how hard can it be? Yeah, I'll get 50 people in a room once a week for free. Can't be that hard. And I'll convert them to a paid event, like a percentage of them to a paid event. Well, yeah, it's harder than I thought. So that didn't quite go to plan. And then that evolved into being the Elite Network, because I thought, well, I've got this vision, I want to impact people. I need to think outside the box here. And my theory was, it's really difficult to constantly, you know, as a speaker yourself, coming up with great quality content is quite difficult, believe it or not. To do a talk for an hour, to come up with really good content is quite difficult. That really impacts people and the rest of it. So I thought, I can't do that every week or even really every month. So what can I do? So I thought, well, why don't we all just work together? Other coaches, speakers, trainers must be having this same problem. Let's all just work together. And I have a belief of collaboration over competition. And I thought about it, and I reached out to a guy who owned a TEDx license. You've seen TED Talks, I'm sure, and said to him, I've got this idea, I've got this vision, and he said, yeah, I'll help you. My theory was he would know lots of speakers. I had this vision, I was willing to do the work, let's all work together and sort of try and make a difference collectively. And
so
that was how the Elite Network was born.
One tweet put you on the path to helping, thousands, hundreds of thousands and millions. That became the goal from that one tweet.
It was literally, because I talk about quantum leaps. So many people in life, they want to make quantum leaps, and particularly in today's day and age, because so many people they want instant gratification. They want it now. They want it now. Or they have this belief that something must have happened, and so many people compare their chapter 1 with someone else's chapter 20. And they're like, but I haven't got that. Yeah, because you haven't done chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. so far. So I was just like, I reeled it right back and go, right, let's just start. And it was like pulling the thread on a jumper. You start pulling that thread, and the whole thing just unraveled. And don't get me wrong, there's been a lot of work. There's a hell of a lot of passion, and yes.
So when did the coaching business become a business of its own? You left the investment world, you left the marketing world, you then started a whole new business. That's got to make some money, hasn't it?
Yeah. So again, the thing that I was conscious of, because although I had like my own little blueprint of being able to achieve, I was very conscious, and still am conscious, of having an academic understanding as well. So I went off and studied academically. I became an accredited master coach. I became a neuro-linguistic programming master practitioner. I became a member of the International Coach Federation.
While still doing the day job?
No, so what I also did do, so this is the other thing, is when the business partner I had the renewable energy business with, we decided to get into another business together. So I said, all right, I'm going to do like Make It Happen, which was the coaching business, and he really wanted to follow property. So we said, well, let's just do both. You know, we've just had our fingers burnt by being in one, having all our eggs in one basket. I'll do the coaching business, you do the property business. We'll sort of share each other's resources, and we'll do that. So I had a property investment business that evolved into a property education business. So that was going on at the same time as whilst I was doing what I was doing. And then I exited out of that actually last year because I wanted to solely focus on this. And then I was doing a few like one-on-one coaching clients and building up a bit an income that way. And then that's evolved and developed into the various different services that we offer now.
Very good. In the coaching world, like a lot of markets, is very, very saturated, isn't it? There's everyone wants to be a coach. How do you stand out in a saturated market?
That's a great question. So I think that what makes me different is from a experience perspective. I've got quite a lot of life experience, but I have a lot of coaches. But for me, from a very young age, I had a belief system around money. I earned a lot of money. I lost a lot of money. I've suffered significant guilt. I've been suicidal. So I've been to the extremes at both ends of the spectrum, which I believe gives me a certain level of empathy with certain people. Then from an academic perspective, I mean, for example, I'm the youngest British man in the world to be a member of the International Coach Federation. I'm about to become the youngest PCC, which is professionally certifies coach in the world. So that sort of helps differentiate me. And I think that I'm just not your stereotypical coach. I'm not a business coach. There's a lot of great business coaches out there and they're phenomenal at what they do, but my passion is mindset. I believe that success, however you define it, is 80% mindset, 20% skill, and my skill set lies in enabling people to empower themselves through their mindset, and that's where I suppose I'm a bit different to a lot of the other people. And most people's perception of a life coach, I don't really like the term because it's so broad these days, but that's essentially what I am. If you break it down, is a life coach. Most people's perception of it is a big 6'5" American jumping up and down, clapping his hands, or a middle-aged woman sitting down having a cup of tea, and I'm neither of those.
You get a 4'2" Olly Murs lookalike.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, little hobbit come walking in. So yeah, that's that.
I know there's client confidentiality, but what has been the most tremendously transformational person you've worked with?
Oh wow, God, so many. So a moment that always stands out for me, and this is someone that I had the pleasure of working with, but actually wasn't the time originally when I wasn't working with them at the time, but I spoke at an event, and then very shortly after, I got a 1,567 word email from that person telling me how they didn't commit suicide as a result of hearing me speak and the message that I had and all the rest of it. So that was quite powerful. Yeah. I've had the pleasure of working with some great people, celebrities, professional athletes, obviously right through to the other extreme of people that are about to commit suicide and everybody in between. I think there's a few people that stand out for me. One of my professional athlete clients, because of what they have gone on to achieve, not just in their own sport, but then what they've done outside of that. Because what I do isn't just help people achieve goals. What I do is enable people to become the best version of themselves. Because if you're the best version of yourself, you can achieve any goal that you set your mind to. And that for me is what it's about, is empowering people to become the best version of themselves. Not about, right, I'm going to get you to this goal or I'm going to get you to that goal. It's about them becoming the best version of themselves. And when you see people like really shift and become, like literally you see everything about them change. Their physiology, their face, the way they dress, their confidence, the way they stand. Okay, they might earn more money, yeah, sure, they might get the job they wanted, they might start the business they want, they might be able to buy the car they want, but it's when you actually see them evolve and change as human beings and their whole mannerisms, that for me is the bit that gets me.
Rewarding.
Yeah, for sure.
Like it. In this coaching world that you're in, And this social media world that we live in, it's all about, look at me, the highlight reels. But what I like about you, Will, is that you're very honest. And you share honest posts about yourself. And I find that very endearing as well. And you're authentic and you're genuine. And I think that helps you stand out. Because when, for example, you lost your driving licence.
I did.
How did you cope with that?
I'm still coping with it, but no. I think it's a really good point. And you asked about what makes me stand out is I'm willing to be vulnerable. There's a lot of people that people look to as these gurus that, oh my God, life's perfect. Like I'm a business person. I have challenges. I have stuff go on. I call it life. Some people say. Something beginning with S that ends with T happens, but I say life happens. I had 6 points on my license, and then I was driving back from an event. I zoomed in on my sat nav and got just as a policeman was walking past, happened to notice me zooming in on the map, on the sat nav map on my phone, and I got 6 points for it, which took me to 12, which gave me an automatic 6.5 6-month ban. Mm-hmm. I will demonstrate that, and then what I'll do is I'll share with people, so use social media in quite a big way, how I've gone about doing that, to make life as easy as possible for me. Because the things people were saying when I was going to court, they were like, God, if I lost my license, that would be the end of the world. I just couldn't survive if I didn't have my driving license. And to be fair, a couple of years ago, if you just said the same to me, I would have said, yeah. And I was like, it's cool, I'll make it work. And we have made it work. And I've pulled a few favours. I've had a change of lifestyle because
driven around by the beautiful Ellis.
I've had my fair share of lifts. I've called on a few favours. I've made a local taxi company a few quid, I made changes. But I base everything that I do about being congruent. And for me, congruence is, do your actions meet your intentions? And if my intentions are to empower other people, I don't just want to be a teacher. And what I mean by a teacher is someone that is just provides information. They don't necessarily live by it. I want to be able to inspire people, and I truly believe that people are inspired by you doing the work, not necessarily the result, but the fact you're doing the work shows that it comes up. So if I can live by my own viewpoint and that gets results for me, then I believe that it can get results for others. Because that was all I did with the driving license. I had to change, right, what is most important to me? What do I value most? What do I want to have? And it was things like my independence, not have to rely on people, etc., etc. I was like, right, well, I'm going to make the moves accordingly so that I have as less friction as possible, and to make it as smooth as it can be for given the circumstances. So.
And you've been honest about other things. Life does happen, and you're a businessman as well. There's lots going on. Sometimes your diet, your nutrition, and your training can go off kilter. Or you just feel, in a funk. And I've read posts where you've been honest about that, and I think that's refreshing because, in the world that we're in, everything's just like, I'm so perfect. And life isn't like that, is it?
Viewing life through Instagram lenses. I do, and I think it's important. I think that I'm quite happy to share when I'm going through challenges. I tend to share when I've got through the challenge, and more so the lessons of what I've done to do it, to demonstrate I have these challenges the same way everybody else does, but then there is a way out of it. Sometimes I know the way out of it, sometimes I don't at the time, but I work on myself. I continue to work on myself to get those results for myself, and then obviously use that to be able to impact other people in the way that I feel is useful.
And the biggest challenge in your life, I know, again, you've been quite honest about this, it's your addiction to Galaxy chocolate.
I'm partial to a Galaxy chocolate bar.
Are you coping with that one all right?
No, it's I make more fun out of it than anything else. I actually don't have an addiction, but I do. I am quite partial to a bar or two, and I just like chocolate. I'm not sort of going to any GA meetings or anything like that. But it's good.
So for people then who can feel a bit lost and confused in life and overwhelmed, you know, what would be your top advice for that?
Okay, so there's a couple of different things that you've mentioned there. So for people that feel lost, so my whole coaching philosophy is built around clarity, action, and accountability. So in order to get clarity, for me, what so many people try to do is they try to look at the next step, whereas it's actually easier to look broader and then break it down. So what I tend to start with people is I say, well, rather than go, right, what am I going to do this year? What do I need to do next month? What do I need to do like in the next 3 months? Is what do you ultimately want to do? So what does your ultimate life look like? What does your ultimate day look like? Who would you be with? Who would you be waking up with? Where would you be living? What activities would you be getting up to? What would you be eating? Who would be around you? What resources would you have to hand? And start with that. Design your ideal day. And then reverse engineer it. Well, if that was what I want ideally, what would I need to be or do in 5 years, in 3 years?
What if they didn't know what they wanted?
Everybody knows. Everybody knows. And that sometimes people start in the wrong place. So people go, oh, I don't know what I want. And if let's say they're talking about life, like a career, for example, I'll say, okay, cool, be a bin man. Oh, no, I don't want that. Okay, cool, so you do know, right? But you haven't got clarity on it. So we start with what they don't want. I call it, there's a children's game. I'll have to learn the name of it because I bring this up at least once a week and I can never remember the name of the thing. But there's a children's toy that you get and it's like a cube and it has holes in it that are different shapes. So you've got like a triangle shape, a round shape, a square shape, and you have little pegs. And it's the kids' game. They put the triangle one in the triangle hole, the round peg in the round hole. You know the type of thing I mean. And I just say, like, then you just try different things on. So think about, if you don't know, well, start working out what you don't know. That rules out some options. Right, what do I want? And it's not necessarily the specifics, but start, well, do you want to be able to travel? Do you want to earn a particular amount of money? Do you want to manage people? Or do you want to be a solopreneur? Or do you want to work in organisation? So you can start with broad questions like that, right? Do you want to work with someone or do you want to work for yourself? I'm not sure. Okay, cool. How much money do you want to earn? What do you want security or are you up for a risk? Oh, I want security. Okay, cool. Do you want security constantly or do you want security in the end? And you can start asking certain things. And whenever people don't know something, it just comes down to better questions. The quality of your questions determine the quality of your life. And so many people just don't ask good enough questions.
They just exist through life, really.
Yeah. And I think so. Asking better quality questions has a significant impact for a start, and that starts to drill things down. So that deals with the broad side of things. Overwhelm is slightly different. So if people are dealing with overwhelm, in my experience, overwhelm is just a mass of information, right? And a lack of prioritization. So the first thing I say to anybody that's overwhelmed is move. Like whatever environment you're in, if you're overwhelmed at work in the day, if you're home constantly, get into a different environment because your environments impact your behavior. So for a start, just get into a completely different environment. Then get out of your head. So quite often when I speak to people that are overwhelmed, I say, like, write everything down. I've got a particular process that I go through with people for creating what I call a must-do list. So get everything written down. So you've got nothing in your head, so your head's clear. Then you work through this list process, which is really, really simple. And it's basically you prioritize. So as business owners, which is a lot of which I speak to, right, what are your income generating activities? What are your non-income generating activities? You have 2 different columns and that's it. Then what you do is, so it's one list, but they will have subsections. So 2 of the subsections are income generating and non-income generating. Then you have another subsection, which what am I going to do this week? So you basically take things out of your income generating or non-income generating, you put them on your, what I call twat, which is the week ahead tasks. So what's your twat for the week ahead tasks, and you identify what you do for the week, and then you have your schmid, and your schmid is 7 things I must do today. So then you take your, and for you it might be 5 things, it might be 3 things, whatever, and then you take those things and then they go on your schmid. So then what happens is you've got clarity on focus of what it is that you need to do from a prioritization perspective of what's really, really important. So then that process becomes important, and then there's other things you can do like D3 it. So do, delegate or delete. Literally look at the list, go, what do I need to do? What can I delegate? What can I delete? And then you start portioning parts out. That's something that's really important. And another
like
thing
it.
from an overwhelm perspective is start to be more. So quite often when people are overwhelmed, they're really in their head. Like, get into your body, do some physical exercise, meditate, start getting back into just being rather than doing. I mean, you're a human being, not a human doing. So that's a...
Which leads us on to how do you then keep yourself on point? Because you know, I know you're a busy man travelling up and down the country and everything. How do you keep your perfect 4'2"? Perfect.
How do I keep my perfect 4'2" body? It's certainly not perfect, and it's not 4'2", it's 5'8". If I'm just on my tiptoes slightly. I train, so I do hit the gym most days. I play ice hockey, so from a physical activity perspective, I eat well. I meditate most days. I have a little gadget that I use to help me meditate. So that works for me. And I have a morning routine. I do believe, like, if you win your morning, you win your day. And I'm quite strict with my morning routine, which consists of a personal declaration. So I read a personal declaration I've written out to myself. I read one of the Ogmadano scrolls. I meditate. I write out 10 things I'm grateful for. I don't just write them out. I feel the gratitude for them. I do a bit of Wim Hof breathing. You familiar with Wim Hof?
I don't know what Wim Hof breathing is.
Okay, so yeah, I will demonstrate a bit of Wim Hof breathing. So I'll literally sit there, I'll be in my chair, and I will literally... So we'll do it together now.
Let's do it.
And I'll literally breathe in, breathe, and I'll go again. And I'll just keep doing that, but I'm breathing from my belly, so I'm really breathing in and breathing out. So a lot of people, when they breathe in for their chest. They're not maximising their lungs, but I breathe in from my belly, so I'm really opening my diaphragm up, so I'll really get some oxygen into me first thing. Get that belly, go on, fill that belly full of oxygen. Get your hands right up. and yeah, just bring it right up and bring it down. So do a bit of Wim Hof breathing, bit of Wim Hof breathing.
Is that who invented it? Wim Hof?
Wim Hof, yeah, the Iceman. Have you heard of the Iceman? No, you've not seen him? Yeah, he's if you YouTube him, he's absolutely phenomenal. He does like epic things like minus 20 marathon, like minus 20 temperature at a marathon in that wearing just shorts, or he'll just go and sit in like ice lakes. He's incredible, all from controlling his breathing. So that's important for me, my must-do list. And then a few little wonderful basic things like wheatgrass and vinegar, Bragg's vinegar cider. It's a new recent
So just
one for
an
me.
awesome strategy routine in the morning.
Routine,
Keeps you right,
yeah.
Or in your day. I like it. So for people wanting to find out more about Will Polston, where do they go?
Okay, great question. So we are on all the major social media platforms. So Facebook, we use Instagram, Twitter, the usual, LinkedIn. We do have a Facebook group, a really engaged Facebook group, which you're a member of.
I am.
And it's called the Elite Network Community. We've got about 3,700 people in that group. So yeah, you can type in the Elite Network Community on Facebook, or myself, Will Polston, and Will Polston Make It Happen, and follow the journey along those lines, or head to make-it-happen.co.uk, and people can find out more about us, or if they are of mind like us, one of the things that we have, which is where we first engaged, is a personal development networking event that we run in various cities around the UK, currently Newcastle, Sheffield, Manchester, Leeds, Guildford, Maidstone, Chelmsford and Essex, with a number of different other locations soon to come along, where we get positive driven like-minded people together every month. We bring in 2 guest speakers. It's a great environment. It's certainly something where people come away feeling empowered, full of energy, and learning something new. And you can head to the-elite-network.co.uk to find out more about those events and come along and benefit from coming to one of the events. Your first event is free. We'd love to have you there.
Excellent, come along. And to finish off, what's next on the agenda for Will? Where do you want to be in 3 years' time, say?
Great question. So my ultimate goal, my mission now, is to empower 1 billion people. Yeah, 1 billion people. It was 1 million, and then I thought, hey, what's 3 extra zeros? I thought I want to empower 1 billion people. A wise man once said to me, have a mission in life that's the equivalent of trying to empty the sea with a spoon. And yeah, look, we're going for it. We're doing what we can to make our dent and have our impact. So for me, it's about empowering people to become the best version of themselves, to benefit not only themselves but their families, their friends, their community, society, humanity. Because a big thing for me was that when my dad had this limiting belief, like he might have been able to deal with the way that he felt, but what he maybe wasn't consciously aware of was the impact he was having on me and the rest of the family and the tangents that we went off on. So for me, that's a really big thing. So ultimately, we want to have the Elite Network running all over the UK. I want to make it happen to become the go-to brand for personal development in the UK. Simply from a place that if people are going through challenges, they want to grow, they want to develop as an individual, not as a business, not as from a corporate perspective, but just to almost be a household name. Like say we go, right, I want a can of fizzy brown pop. I think Coca-Cola. I want people to think, right, I want to do personal development. I need to go to a Make It Happen event, or I need a Make It Happen coach. That for me will be when we've sort of got to the point that we want to be. So yeah, that's the aim. It is a bit more specific than that as well in terms of specific numbers and things like that. But yeah, I've got it all mapped out, a 3-page document on the 3-year vision. So it's very important. I'm a massive visualizer, like I said right from the beginning. The secret and law of attraction, I'm a big believer in it. So it's all been mapped out to get us to where we want to be.
And if you could go back in time and give the old Will a bit of advice, what would you say?
Oh, great question. If I could go back...
Like Quantum Leap, remember that programme?
I don't remember the programme.
How old are you? Come on, I'm 42.
Yeah, I'm 29, so...
Hey, Quantum Leap was brilliant. They're actually campaigning to get all the 5 series shown on Netflix at the moment.
Are they really? Right, okay, well, when it comes on Netflix, I'll give it a watch and I'll think of you. What advice would I give myself? There's a lot of advice I want to give myself, but I think the advice that I'd give myself actually is trust your gut, take the action, everything will be okay.
I like it.
That will probably be, that's the first thing that come into my mind, so maybe that's a reason why, trust your gut, take the action, everything will be alright.
Excellent.
Sure.
I do like that. So Will, you're a beautiful man. You've got beautiful blue eyes.
Thank you.
The whitest teeth I've ever seen.
Nearly as white as that bit of hair you've got on your beard.
I know, it's good. Yeah. It's good.
Can you see that the other side?
42 now. That's what happens when you're 42. But thanks for coming along. There's been loads of good content there. And guys, check out Will. He's so good at what he does. And just follow him. Go to his Facebook group. Go to an event. Check it out. If you're unhappy, you're stuck in something in life or business, this man can help you out. He's a true star. Legend. Thanks for coming along, Will.
Thank you. Absolute pleasure.
Beautiful.
Top man.
Over and out.
Until next time, make it happen.